Recording in progress. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is a topic that has been bothering me today, and even more so right now with this whole, Diddy, Kanye West, music industry, or just like rich people, the state of our society, gender war, yada yada, the main things that like everybody's talking about. But yeah, precisely right now with this whole, Diddy and Kanye situation too, because we are having a very public conversation about cuckoldry. Um Now this conversation has inspired the causes of cuckoldry. And I mean, you know, yesterday I posted a video on my Instagram or a couple of days ago, just giving just, sending the hats off, to Diddy just in terms of the fact that he's actually going to go ahead and face the prosecution um about, this whole honestly, embarrassing situation with his now ex-girlfriend. Cassandra Ventura or whatever her name is. And, it's even further coming out, he gave her 20 million to settle. And she accepted it, even though she's still testifying and all this stuff. And we're having to have, these very personal things revealed about him. And I think I want to start there, right? I think I want to start right there with, you know, because trust me, I'm on the same type of time, right? I'm on a time where, you know, no matter what, right? Like no matter how much somebody pays you to keep your mouth shut, no matter what NDAs you may sign or whatever the case may be, the truth is what is most important, right? And especially in the realm of extreme wickedness. Um, you know, I mean, if we're talking about things like murder, if we're talking about things like, other people, hurting other people and stuff like this, other innocent people, just very, very wicked things, whatever, eating children, molesting, touching children, whatever, you know what I'm saying? These types of things are revolting, and the truth is way more important than a settlement or whatever, somebody's feelings or whatever the case may be. But we're not even there yet. The entire case is not even out, so we don't know the full extent of how messed up everything is. But we do know that there is this cuckoldry stuff, that's being talked about. And just being completely honest, I don't know very much about I don't really care about like the innards of their relationship or, the story and all that type of stuff. I really could care less. I'm not absorbed by it. I never really cared for, excuse me, Sean Combs' music. I never really cared for, just generally idolizing these people. That's really what my thing. My thing is about idolizing these people, or their creations. And, you know, with right now, it just looks to me that at least at this first stage, because like I said, the entire case is not over, but at this first stage, the real objective is embarrassing Sean Combs. Now, uh, let's just get clear about this cuck thing, right? So what is a cuck, right? So a cuckold has always been, at least at a base level, defined as somebody whose wife is getting fucked by other men. And it's particularly a wife, right? So it's particularly in marriage, right? Because marriage is supposed to be a sacred thing, and it's supposed to be just between the two people and all of this type of stuff. Let us not ignore things like First Corinthians that in the first place talks about how marriage is a trap. Uh, the Apostle Paul talks about how marriage is a trap, and the reason why marriage is a trap is because it's really about controlling one's lustful uh vulnerabilities, our carnal needs, you know what I'm saying? So for First Corinthians is a lot about self-control, and the manner of marriage as well, at least from Apostle Paul's perspective in First Corinthians, is about a lack of self-control, or is about having self-control. So, um, and in First Corinthians, it in First Corinthians, it talks about how, um, you know, like the man and the woman are supposed to burn together, right? They burn together in their marriage because they're what they're doing, they're burning together in their lack of ability to control themselves, right? Because God is supposed to come first, not man or humanity or a woman or your wife or whatever the case may be. But once you get married, um it's like an official binding, right? It's like an official thing of like, yes, I am prioritizing man over God. And by man again, I mean mankind. So you're prioritizing your wife. She's prioritizing her husband. But nonetheless, the man is the one who hears the voice of God, and woman only just knows that it exists, right? Or just, she just receives it, from the man's recalling. Um, And so, and then in the meantime, you have the commandments, right? You have like the Ten Commandments, which say, thou shalt not covet another man's wife. But yet, you have these situations where, again, you don't have to covet another man's wife. You know what I mean? The man can be in such a position where, he expects or desires for his wife to be taken, for his position to be abused. Now, there are some things to think about in the realm of like becoming rich, or becoming just having like a better life, like just being better well off, where you could be like, hey, life is so free, forget it. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let other people use my belongings. I'm gonna let other people, have my possessions and use my possessions and stuff like that. And that includes my wife or my wives, whatever, right? Like these things are definitely possible. But there's much more than that as well, right? Like there are even more factors that can contribute to what would encourage somebody in a cuckoldry. And in the Instagram video that I posted yesterday, or earlier this week, it was about how me giving a head nod pause to Sean Combs, because he's facing the prosecution, and this is going to reveal certain things inevitably, certain realities that, although the court and legal system may not be prepared to deal with them because they're not built around, I guess, the man's perspective, or like these more intimate things really about the relationships. They're more so about, these other things, about whether these other things did or did not happen. Um, you know, it's about him being a black man more so than it being Diddy, right? And there's this bit of reality about black men. I mean, y'all hear so much of in the rap music, y'all hear so much again in the pop culture, y'all hear so much about, these women, people being for the streets, and yada, all of this type of stuff. And we know that uh taking a man's girl, um, or whatever, right? Exploiting the vulnerability of women, exploiting yeah, I think that's fair enough. Exploiting the vulnerability of women and thus the vulnerability of men who cherish them so much, who idolize them so much, right? Even to the point of marrying, right? Because marriage is a symbol. Um, to want to harm the man spiritually, mentally, um, and I mean physically, but physically because you can feel it from the spiritual effect and stuff like that, emasculating him, um, by going for his girl, his wife, his girlfriend, whatever the case may be. Um, again, we talk about this a lot in rap music, but just because it's in rap music, it doesn't mean this is, this has always been a thing. I mean, even in the Kama Sutra of Vatsyayana, this is in there about like there's like plans and like methods on like how to take people's girls, what you should do in order to do so, whether or not there should be consequences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The point that I'm making though is, you know, particularly, in the black culture thing where uh, we allow ourselves to in the context of black culture speak so much about this desire to want to wreck homes, tear apart families, destroy men spiritually, destroy men mentally, et cetera, et cetera. Um, that, you know, like that it will become a real practice, or that this would, the practice would propagate among us, or that it would even exist, you know what I mean, to some certain extent. And different men have different abilities to uh apply pressure to men, um to try to emasculate them and stuff like that, right? To, because sometimes that's what they want. They want to see you fearful. They want to see you scared. They want to see you, lose it all. And they want to be the reason why, you have X, Y, or Z, type of effect. And it's very unfortunate. You know what I mean? But these are the other types of things that make a cuck because, it's interesting how one of the simplest ways to repent is to accept your condition. The Jews know this. They practice it regularly. Um, Women also employ this. Whatever they teach each other to do it. But one of the quickest ways to repent is to accept your condition. So, fuck it. Other men want to fuck my girl and they want to try to destroy me or whatever. If I don't let them do it and stuff like that, then they're gonna do whatever to me. Then whatever. I'm just gonna give my girl up. I'm just gonna do whatever's necessary, you know what I mean, to keep these guys off my back, you know. And maybe the first time they may be going, hey, well, you know, um, it's just one time or whatever. At least this preserves my life. This prevents me from getting hurt. You know what I mean? I still get to keep the things that I have. Fuck it. But, you know, they say give them an inch, they'll hang themselves. And so they get there one time, and so they go back multiple times. They're enemies, or whatever, right? These no do-gooders, you know what I mean? These people who play around, excuse me, who preoccupy themselves with trying to emasculate men, and rob them of their integrity and dignity and honor and other things that they work for and things of that nature. And there are many men who again, like I said, they do their best to try to fight for their honor, fight for their integrity, and fight for their dignity, and stuff like that in dealing with these people because we're in a bit of a trap, right? Like we're in a bit of a trap legally because even if, you threaten my life, I can't shoot you first, technically, right? Like in the eyes of the law, like it doesn't matter if you threaten, somebody's life, right? Whoever shoots or whatever, however it goes, whatever is done, it's not about, as much a lot of times, most of the time, the reasons, the story, you know what I'm saying? It's about, did this happen? Yes. Was it you? Was it this? Yes. Okay, well, boom, and that's it. And men are very much trapped in this condition. Men are very much trapped from weaker men, from women. The strong in general are very trapped from these ways of the weak, from these ways that we build our nations, that we create laws and rules and stuff like this to so-called protect the weak from the strong. But, the weak see these things and then they seek to exploit, you know, um, these certain things that are done. And, this is no different. This is no different from, like a cuckold situation, such as with Mr. Combs, with Cassie, where, okay, well, he's got this situation where, he's got this cuckold fetish thing that he has going on. And, you know, maybe she didn't, uh because you understand, like women have to come in and inherit a man's stuff, right? Like a woman comes in, and men inherit a woman's stuff too. But men are the prize, right? To be a man is the ultimate blessing, right? And she has to come in and receive, his stuff. So, I'm more than sure she didn't have to deal with a cuck, you know what I'm saying? Before she got with this dude, Sean. But, as the time went on and she began to see, oh, this is what he likes. He likes me getting smashed by other guys and all this, because, he's going to talk to her about it, right? Or he's going to put her in like situations for her to, I mean, she sees it and she's like, oh, because like women aren't, I mean, women, I mean, but women aren't dumb, right? Like women, like, this is very, very simple. You know what I mean? And really a lot of times, you know, being a man, right, and having as much experience with women as I do, it is usually women who want to initiate a relationship, or who want to, put some sort of a title. What are we? You know what I'm saying? They want to itemize, they want to objectify the thing between the two people. And so I understand how, so it is of course understandable how it can be odd to them as well, right? Or how it has to strike them when they're dealing with a man who has a cuckold fetish, and the man says, I want you to have sex with other people. You know what I mean? Whether or not he wants you to do it in front of him, particularly in front of him, that's really that's like diff, but you don't have to be like the story of Othello, right? Like the story of Othello, for example, the Moor or whichever was a cuckold, but he was a cuckold from a distance. Like it was like it's like that pain of like feeling like your girl is like doing shit behind your back. Um and people can think of you as a cuckold because they know that your wife is going around, having sex with other men. But in his case, he's like, not only do I want you to have sex with other men, but I want you to do it in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, she has to process that. You know what I mean? Like she has to go through that and she has to make the decision to go ahead and do that. And you know, like I said, man, like women come into our lives and they, because we're the prize. Who cares what they want? Chicks can get gang banged and all of this in college and be cocky and you know what I'm saying, and have sex for money and all of this type of stuff. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and it's not even who cares, but like who cares? You know what I'm saying? Because it is kind of like who cares. Uh, but for a man, and this is on all levels, it's a different sort of integrity or honor, you know what I'm saying, that we think about in terms of a man. And whatever the reasons may be for that, I don't think it should be ignored. You know what I'm saying? The reality that, like I said, this is a very personal thing for Mr. Combs and for cucks, really, for cucks, right? And that women know that from the beginning when it becomes acknowledged, by them and everything. Um, and so Cassie goes ahead, right? Because then there's additional incentives too, right? You throw in some money, you know what I'm saying? Blah 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 blah. And look, like if you look at serial killers, right? Like if you look at serial killers who like killed women, and all who preyed on women and stuff like that, like a lot of times their calling to these women are, I'm offering you money in exchange for sexual favors. And they say yes. And they say yes. Like I don't know, like, and people go and they say, oh no, no, it's okay, the girl, she was just getting paid or whatever, yada yada yada. But but no, you're a whore, like it's whoredom, it's prostitution. And and it's personal, right? And it's personal, you hide your body count, you act so ashamed of it, yada yada yada, at least for it to be talked about. But you have no issue with doing it behind closed doors, right? And you hate it and are embarrassed and flee when other people, mention your burning nature. They mention how, you know, how you are. They mention your, it's an embarrassing thing because it's personal, right? And yeah, whatever, like it's personal, but at the same time, again, right? I mean, all this access and everything that we have, to one another and everything, it is so important for us to talk about these things, and that's a big reason why I'm here. That's a huge reason why I'm here. So, uh, yeah, cucks. I'm talking about the making of a cook, right? So you already have this issue of, men who try to challenge other men, whether it's weak men to strong men or strong men to weak men, knowing, how, everybody loves women, right? Or, people love people, you're gonna love people, you're gonna become attracted to people, and people would seek to rob you of your connection, rob you of your ties with this other person, rob you of your experience, rob you of your spiritual feeling and experience by impeding upon your peace, and inflicting against other people, even to the point of threatening your life or whatever the case may be. And gentlemen such as Sean Combs, gentlemen such as even Kanye, because I mean, even in his How Hitler song, he talks about how he's a cuck and everything. You know what I'm saying? He wants, he likes the thought of people fucking his wife and all of this type of stuff, or fucking his girl or whatever. Um, and of course it's fathomable. You know what I'm saying? Like dealing with death threats and dealing with all types of just intimidation attempts and all of this type of stuff that, you just come to accept your position and just being like, hey, damn it. Well, hey, look, if somebody fucks my girl, I just have to live with that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and because it's even more than just whether or not you have to accept the notion of being a cuck. The woman also has to accept her own position of being the subject of that, right? Like of being the object of that. And women do make the decision to be the object of that, or the subject of that. And so they are not, impervious to consequences or scrutiny, because, you know, they're a woman. Because that's all it's for, right? Like people act like, you know, uh women, oh no, women just do things because, you know, they're having to come into a man's life and they're just so innocent and whatever the case may be. And it can't be like that. It can't be like that. It just can't be like that. Um, but I do offer, you know, again, this question as I do on my book Judgment Day, of, what is it that we want our world to be made of? What do we want our world to consist of? Do we want our world to be you know, all this, knowing the wickedness that is within us, knowing the evil that is within us, and running away from it while simultaneously lying about it, but also trying to perpetuate it at the same time, like, underneath. Or do we wish to be absolved from it? Do we wish to, be as cleansed as possible and have understanding and reach as much understanding as possible so that we don't have to live with so much suffering and so much of this spiritual torture that we have to deal with as a matter of, living. And don't get me wrong, there are some people who absolutely deserve the worst, right? Or absolutely deserve torture. Some people deserve death. You feel me? Um, but there are also plenty of people or instances where, people become the ways that they are just, out of cruelty and one of their biggest issues is that they don't know how to get around it, particularly because society dodges it so much. Society evades talking about uh these more intimate things about each other and you know and then like it's just like to me at this point it just looks like with this whole Diddy Cassie situation, considering she already accepted a $20 million settlement and stuff like this, to not talk about it, and yet she's still going ahead and talking about the cuckoldry and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, your objective is to humiliate him. And you know, it's no, like I said, like even that part, right, of like the woman's part in it too, of, her making the choice to go ahead and cook because, again, for when we create these ways to try to try to close the gap between the weak and the strong, right? To give the weak some handicaps, right? Some advantages so that, it's not so tough for them. And when you are weak and you know that you're dealing with stronger people and you don't really have a mind for competition or whatever, you can still absolutely have that feeling within you because you do have a mind for competition, but you just don't have a mind for competition for like yourself. So like to work hard for yourself to actually, get anything on your own. Anybody would take an opportunity to improve their lives and enhance their lives. And again, I'm saying anybody, not everybody. Um, but so she would so anyway, she's making this choice to do this cuckoldry thing out of this opportunity to embarrass a man who has strength, power, resources, etc. Um, to any degree. And again, you say, oh, well, you don't blame her for taking the opportunity. Yeah, that but she took the opportunity though. Like the point is that, the opportunity is taken and it's really just to embarrass the guy, more so than it is to actually, I guess, speak about something that's actually wrong. Because one of the other things, to be talked about in this case is, the woman's desire to be physically, um, you know, physically whatever, like excessively physically interacted with in the midst of sex. Choke me, slap me, pull my hair, spit on me, spit in my mouth. I've dealt with it. You feel me? Like I've dealt with all of it. Put it in my ass. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like women love that. Like women love that type of shit, right? Or like, and women are usually the ones to initiate domestic violence, as well, and again, we grow up with these kinds of things, right? But then, time comes and then, blah blah blah, whatever, and then it's like, oh no, but you're a man and a man should never put his hands on a woman. And it's like, bro, we wouldn't even be hitting y'all bitches if you weren't like, oh no, I want you to do this and yada yada yada, and then oh, we don't do the things that you like, so you like us less, and we don't put blah blah blah, bad boy, be a bad boy, all of this. Yo, we really need to consider how much there really is to take seriously about the position of the weak, especially when it comes down to women. Because if we keep on listening to women, and orchestrating our environment around women and how women think and how women are, which is to destroy men, to destroy society, to constantly contradict oneself, to have no direction, to have no guidance, to destroy oneself, to hate oneself, um, then we will find ourselves in a ruined society. We will, this will, it won't be fun for anybody. And there is no time like now where, it's evident men are fed up, men are tired, and men have been tired for a very long time. But we haven't had this much access to each other to see just how not alone, first of all, that we are in our situations. Because, you hear so much about like, oh, not every woman is like that. Not every woman is blah, blah, blah. Not every woman is this, you know what I'm saying? And, yet, it's a lot of one. It feels like the majority of women are like terrible people. You know what I'm saying? And that's fun. I don't care. Like I said, if I had a homie who was a cuck and I had the ability to fuck his wife or whatever the case may be, fair enough. Yo, listen, even me, like I stay single. I stay single because it's too much, right? Like she contradicts herself. Other people are gonna want to try to go after her and all of this type of stuff. You know what I mean? She's gonna entertain that, no, or try to entertain that no matter what I say, or whatever the case may be, just because she's fucking evil, on the inside and all of that. Yo, whatever. Like, do your thing. You feel me? Like I don't want any parts of that because you're not about to because the what really destroys the spirit or what really attacks the spirit is when people are insincere, when people are disingenuous. I always say, again, even in my book, communication is our superpower. And so when we use our communication, sorry, and what makes it the superpower is our capacity to understand. So when we use that communication and we do come to an understanding, this is an exclusive relationship, monogamous relationship. This means that nobody else can have sex with you, nobody else has access to you, and yada yada yada. These sorts of ways we create these sorts of boundaries for one another. Cool, and then these things are broken as they tend to be by women because they more or less allow themselves to be taken away by other men, and or whatever temptations, other women, even whatever. Like women are not, again, women are not innocent. You feel me? But because of these things, like I said, it's just like, yeah, I'd just rather not be all tied on that. And more than anything, I feel like that respects your intelligence more than, you know, anything, like that respects your intelligence more than anything. It respects your autonomy as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it treats you, and that's why it's so understandable and why I love First Corinthians so much because again, Paul says, it is better to be single as I am. You know what I'm saying? Than to be married. Because women are not loyal at all. Women do not take integrity, honor, dignity, and part of it beyond her nature, which I feel like is already a big enough reason. But another huge part of it is the fact that there are other men or other women who are out here who are willing to tempt her, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, and she has decisions to make. And they can tempt her in a multitude of ways, the same way that they tempt you. You know what I'm saying? They tempt her with money, they tempt her with violence, they tempt her with, in the same way that they tempt us with money and violence, even though it's usually violence first. And then it's money. Um, but yeah, man, like, you know, and hey, look, there will never be a shortage of cucks. You feel me? Like there are gonna be hella cucks, okay? Or there is gonna be cucks. The same way there's always gonna be rapists, the same way there's always going to be criminals and violent people. Um, there's always gonna be people who, are weak. There's always gonna be people who are rich, strong, whatever the case may be. But I do think it's highly inappropriate for the law, for the courts to, or leaders to try to meddle so much into people's interpersonal business as a legislative thing. And right now, like I said, this whole, cuckold, situation is just way, way, way too personal Um, to the point where it's clear the objective is to embarrass Sean Combs right now, more than actually, call something out, to say something is wicked. Like I said, I mean, other things are going to be revealed over time and all of this. We know that there will be more to come out about this, but it's not a crime to be a cuck. Actually, if you're a cuck, and you have a woman to offer, um, hit me in my DMs. I'm definitely willing to help out any cucks with their fetish. But you know, uh, at the same time, I don't have any, you know, uh, like I don't judge cucks until they try to get like politically involved. You know what I mean? And they try to like, and that's what I'm saying. Like our politics, they cannot be made up of the thoughts of the weak, or they cannot be, made up of like these, the smaller things. We have to really consider what we want our world to be made of. Is it going to be these, small things that don't matter really, that are just that just get so personal that they become embarrassing? Or do we deal more on the universal things, such as having virtue, such as the things that grow a nation, that are going to maintain it, that are going to keep us prosperous and thriving, and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So there has been a lot of cucks. There have been the making of a lot of cucks, and I'm not surprised. Um, like I said, whether it's because you have money or whether it's because somebody wants your girl, or whether it's because of threats that are faced for whatever, something you said, something you did, something you have, jealousy, envy, things like this. It's understandable. But these are the things that make a cuck, or it's understandable why some people would become cucks. And I do think that it's more valuable for us to talk about these things, than to really act like, people are surprised, because people be watching cuck porn. Let's just be real, right? Like people watch, all type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Actually, there was a guy, on the internet, people, making the point about, what's more cucked than, being a watcher of porn. You know what I'm saying? And even more so, uh, watching cuck porn, is like, you're watching a cuck. You're like, it's like the ultimate cuck, because like you're a cuck watching a cuck get cucked. Like it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, anyway, this is just a lot, and hopefully, because I know my algorithm's probably gonna go crazy after all of this shit that I'm saying. But my point is, I don't condone this shit to begin with. At some point you got to cut it off. At some point you got to just say stop. This isn't right. You know, this is embarrassing. Like this is way too personal for the guy. This is way, uh too intimate. Like you stuck around 10 years doing this. Like you're not a victim. You know what I mean? Like you've benefited from it however you could. You took the opportunity to embarrass him, as much as you could. You probably, went ahead and, fucked every rapper, fucked every famous person, fucked every young person, fucked every person that he told you to fuck. You know what I'm saying? And you continued to benefit from it for however long it was. Um, in terms of physical violence, you probably initiated it. Even if you didn't initiate it, uh, you also, even if you didn't initiate it, you uh you stuck around. Like you stuck around for it. You allowed it to continue to happen. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and then on top of that, you know what I mean? Like you just you stuck around. And it's really a shame. It'd really be a shame to see, um, this whole situation just really be about humiliating a man, and embarrassing a man, because a cuck is already humiliated. A cuck is already emasculated. A cuck is already embarrassed. And you know, that's just the reality of the situation, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, but maybe they don't have to be, right? Maybe they don't have to be, but that requires us to talk about it. That requires us to talk about, things like this so that we can be prepared, for how to deal with it. But hey, that was our little talk, little, things that are on my mind right now because of things that are going on in the world. Are you a cuck? Let me know in the comments. Actually, probably not. But yeah, man. Until next time, you're welcome. Let's have more mature conversations. Chicken nuggets, honey mustard, and those with ears. Let them hear.